Hi, this is Sarit Swetzer, and welcome to the It Is Taught podcast, a podcast devoted to the teachings of Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi as recorded in his most famous work, the Tanya. My hope for this show is to make these teachings accessible and relatable to the average person, regardless of prior Jewish education or affiliation. The episodes follow the prescribed daily study portions and are meant to serve as practical lessons in how to live your life as your true self and develop an authentic and powerful relationship with your Creator. I have personally experienced the effects the study of this work has had on me, and I'm excited to share what I can of this knowledge with you. So please join me on this journey of learning, self-growth, and connection with your source. Hi, and welcome to the It Is Taught podcast. This is episode 630 for the 27th of Av in a regular year. So today we're going to be talking about gardening. So if any of you have been involved in gardening to one extent or another, you probably recognize the thrill that's involved with it. Whether you had an apple tree in your backyard growing up, or maybe you still have some kind of fruit tree of some kind. Let's say if you have ever, like I've planted various different herbs and plants on my fire escape. For a while, I was planting jalapeno peppers and basil and stuff like that. It's a really cool thing, right? Like it's super cool that it's like you take the seed that really looks like nothing. Like it kind of looks indistinguishable from every other seed unless you look at it like really, really carefully. It's this teeny little thing. You put it in the ground, and not only does a plant not grow from just out of the seed like that, the seed grows in this like incremental fashion, but the seed actually disintegrates, and the seed actually loses its whole entire identity in the soil. And then somehow there's this process whereby this plant comes out of the soil. So of course, all of this can be explained quote unquote scientifically, right? There's like photosynthesis and, all these different mechanisms that lead to plant growth as explained by science. But these are really just explanations of the mechanisms of it all. The actual process, like if you just look at it kind of like with a child's eye about what is going on exactly, it's really kind of impossible to not recognize the miracle that's at play. That you have this little seed, and from this little seed emerges this thing that is totally different than that seed. Plants, flowers, trees, it's really incredible. And these trees can produce fruit. And so it's so beyond comparison from the original seed. So what is this all about, spiritually speaking? So that's actually what we're going to be talking about today. And we're going to actually talk about this in relation to tzedakah, to giving charity, which is, if you haven't noticed already, is a very, very big theme of this section of the Tanya that we've been learning, the Iggeres HaKodesh. So in order to really understand this theme of tzedakah and the great power of tzedakah, which is something that we'll learn about, the great power and the great benefit that tzedakah can give to us in a disproportionate manner, we're going to first look at plants, and we're going to look at, from a spiritual perspective, what is actually happening when you plant a seed in the ground and then a plant grows out of there. And so according to Torah, according to to Chassidus, Kabbalah, that kind of thing, actually in a counterintuitive way, perhaps, it's not actually the seed that causes the plant to grow. It's actually the soil. And what the seed does is the seed actually has it's a very important step in the process. It has a very important role to play, but it's actually very minimal in terms of the actual growth of the plant. All the seed does is the seed initiates something within the soil, which causes that plant to grow. And the actual power that causes the plant to grow is actually within the soil itself. So another way of thinking about this in this kind of spiritual terminology is that what the seed does is the seed stimulates what's known as the esarusa dilatata, the female force, which is the arousal from below. And that arousal from below is the instigator of the process of the growth. So it's not the seed itself that's causing the growth. The seed is the instigator. The seed is the the arouser. The seed is the thing that kind of like initiates the process, but the process itself happens within the soil itself, which is why we can now see that there's like this disproportionate effect of that stimulation of the seed, because it's not actually the seed that's giving the plant the power to grow. The seed is merely causing that initial like instigation, but the power of growth again is coming from the soil itself, which the power of growth within the soil is a very, very intense and powerful godly force, as we'll learn. It's what's known in Kabbalah, in Chassidus, as the koach hatzomech, the power of growth. And so how does this relate to tzedakah? So what we'll learn is that tzedakah often is likened to a seed. So that the coin, like, if you think about it, when you're like putting a coin into a tzedakah box, you can kind of see the visual, understand the visual, that it's sort of like that you're planting something in the ground. You're taking this like coin of tzedakah, you can think of it as a seed, and you're planting it in the ground. And what happens when we do this is that just like physical planting, when we plant that seed in the ground, this stimulates the power of growth that's found within the soil and causes this disproportionate reaction, this disproportionate growth. The same thing happens when we give tzedakah. When we give tzedakah, our tzedakah kind of instigates this process, this arousal from below, that causes this disproportionate response from up high, from God, who showers upon us a disproportionate amount of tzedakah here in this world. So that's in short, that's in brief, basically the really amazing power and miraculous nature of life, and also the amazing power of us giving tzedakah. And through all of this, we can come to understand, the answer to the question that we brought yesterday about this disproportionate response. How is it that our tzedakah giving can elicit such a disproportionate response from above? And so through using the analogy of gardening, of planting an actual physical seed, this can help us in understanding how this works exactly. So let's get into the text and see how the Alter Rebbe explains this. We're still in Epistle 8 of Iggeres HaKodesh, and we've reached the third paragraph of 4 paragraphs of this epistle. So this is the third paragraph of Iggeres HaKodesh. So here we go. So the Alter Rebbe says that the idea is that by way of analogy, when we sow a seed into the ground or plant kernels of fruit in the ground, so the shoots that sprout out from the seed, or the tree that comes out and that produces this fruit, these are not the essence and the being of the seed or the kernel at all, right? So it's like, again, like we mentioned in the introduction, when you look at a plant or you look at a tree, and then it's like you look at the seed that it came from, it's like, okay, was that entire tree and was that entire plant contained within the seed? No, it's not, because actually this seed was actually disintegrated in the ground. So like the seed no longer exists. And so rather what happens is that there's this thing called the koach hatzomech, the power, the vegetative power that's in the soil of the land itself. And this is what brings out the growth of the shoot or the tree and its fruits from it. So it's a really very, very miraculous process. Like it looks to us basically like the tree or the plant is coming out from this seed, but it's not, because the seed actually disintegrates into the ground. Where the tree or the plant is coming from is out of the soil and the vegetative power that's found in the soil, and the seed actually disintegrated into the soil. And so then, okay, so if this is the case, that it's like actually it just looks to us like it's coming from the seed, but it's actually not, it's actually coming from the ground. Why do we need the seed at all? What's the point of the seed? So the thing is, the seed is very important, because this power of the koach hatzomech, this power, this vegetative power, does not come into actuality without this seed or this kernel, because we actually need this process of the seed becoming disintegrated into the ground and it becoming like one with the ground, so that now there's no difference. Like if you were to dig in that soil, you would not find the seed anymore, right? It's not like, oh, the seed is like there in the ground anymore. It's like it becomes like one. It becomes part of the soil. Through this process of the seed disintegrating and becoming one with the soil, this is what brings out, what stimulates this power, this koach hatzomech, in all of its powers and to bring about whatever plant, whatever shoot, whatever it is that we're trying to grow that's related to this particular seed. So, right. So there is some kind of relationship there. Like it's like if you plant like a basil seed or if you plant a parsley seed, an apple seed, they're going to produce different things. But it's not because the entire apple tree or the entire basil plant is found within the seed. It's just that each one of the seeds has this like very particular power within it to stimulate the ground in such a way that's going to bring about these various different things in that particular way. And now the amazing thing is that from this little seed, not only is like a plant or a tree brought about, which is pretty miraculous in itself, right? But it actually can produce many like shoots in a plant. So for example, let's say if you had like one ear of a corn has many, many kernels on it, right? Or like a tree, like a fruit tree, there's lots of fruits that come out. And this is like, you can have a fruit tree for years and it's constantly producing more fruit. So it's really amazing. It's like this little seed that you planted into the ground. Not only did that stimulate the power of creating a tree, but it stimulated the power of it creating this like continuous influx of fruit. And we see, and there's like, it's totally disproportionate, right? So it's like this little seed, again, it's like you look at the little seed and it's not like if the more you examine it under a microscope, you'll eventually see a tree. The tree is not in the seed, nor is the fruit that comes from the tree and all of that. And the Alter Rebbe says that this is also true, not only like we're talking about the fruit trees, like things that grow above ground, those things that I guess in Hebrew, when we say a bracha over them, we say the fruit of the tree. But this is also true for things that grow from the ground. So, for example, like cucumbers and things like that. That this is like adama, we say when we say the bracha over them, the fruit of the ground. Because also with cucumbers, right? It's like one seed of that you plant in the ground. I actually had a cucumber plant at one point. It's like it can produce many, many cucumbers. Mine did not produce many cucumbers because I don't think I have that much sun on my fire escape, unfortunately. But it produced, I think, like one or two. And so it's really amazing that this little seed, again, you put it in the ground, and then it like from that the soil produces these vegetables. And so now the Alter Rebbe emphasizes that all of this, he's really emphasizing the point that all of this is because and due to the source of the vitality of the fruit comes from the koach hatzomech that's found in the ground, that comes from the vegetative power that's found in the ground that includes all of the vitality of all fruits and all plant life. So basically it's a really amazing thing that the Alter Rebbe is saying. He's saying that the soil, this dirt that you see like in the ground when just let's say you're walking in a field or whatever, that dirt contains within it the power to produce an infinite number of types of different plants and trees and things like that. And so again, it's not the seeds. We think of it, the way we see it is like you plant a seed in the ground and from that seed a plant or a tree grows. No, the seed or the plant are just like what is called an eserissa delatata. It's an arousal from below. They are the stimulator. They're the thing that causes the stimulation. And it's in Kabbalistic terms, it's like the elevation of feminine waters. It's called ha'alat mayim nukvin, is how the Arizal explains this. That it's like this, they're arousing this feminine type of water type of thing. And then this causes the actual growth to happen. So that's the end of the section for today. And tomorrow we will conclude this epistle when we get into the analog and we talk about how this applies to tzedakah and how this works, this gardening process in terms of tzedakah. So stay tuned for that and I will speak to you then. Thanks for listening to the It Is Taught podcast, hosted by Sarit Switzer. This podcast is dedicated in loving memory of my maternal grandfather, Avraham Yitzchak ben Binyamin HaKohen of blessed memory. Music by Shoshana. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to support the show, please share it with others and subscribe on YouTube, Apple iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And make sure to leave us a 5-star review. To find out more about the It Is Taught project, including more information on my soon-to-be published book, please visit our website, itistaught.com. To catch the latest from me, follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Looking forward to speaking with you tomorrow, and until then, have a great day.